Wolf carries food to an abandoned cabin. What was inside will touch your heart. In the deep forest, where there were no signs of life and everything was shrouded in darkness, a wolf moved silently. The sky had turned a dark shade, and cold winds blew through, making the leaves rustle, but the wolf did not feel the cold. It was focused on only one goal: to carry food to an abandoned cabin where it knew someone was in need of help. The wolf's footsteps echoed in the silence of the forest. Its body was strong, its eyes sharp, and the fur on its body thick and dense, blending with the shadows of the forest. The wolf was not one to be easily defeated by fatigue. It had lived in this environment for so long that it knew life was not just about survival, but also about actions driven by duty. Today's journey for the wolf was unlike any other. This was not a hunt to sustain itself. It knew that its purpose was not to kill prey, but to complete a much more important mission. Inside it, there was a strange urge, as if someone was waiting for it, as if something significant was waiting for it to be accomplished. The wolf passed through dense forests, crossed large rocks, and navigated through thick snow. Snow blanketed the ground, leaving only its paw prints as the lone marks in the white landscape. It seemed as though this forest didn't want anyone to pass through, but the wolf did not stop. Every step it took was purposeful, not out of curiosity, but certainty that something important awaited. As it ventured deeper into the forest, the air grew colder and quieter. But the wolf did not feel fear. Instead, it felt a strong longing, a prompting from within, as if something much larger was about to happen. It didn't know who had given it this task, but it understood that this was something it could not abandon. The wolf's steps were no longer just ordinary steps. It was carrying the weight of an untold story, a secret it could never fully understand. The sky began to grow darker, and the wolf knew it had to reach the cabin before night fully descended. It couldn't waste time. It had to get to that cabin before it was too late, and the wolf knew that inside, something would change its life forever. After a long journey through the cold night, the wolf finally arrived at the abandoned cabin. It was a small, old house, isolated in the middle of the deep forest. The roof was decaying, the windows were broken, and the wooden walls had been eaten away by time. The cabin looked like a place no one had lived in for a long time, a place where only darkness and loneliness seemed to dwell. The wolf paused for a moment, standing silently as it looked at the house. It sensed something strange, as if someone was inside, or at least something was waiting for it. Despite the cabin appearing desolate, the wolf did not feel its emptiness. Instead, it felt a strong urge, as if a secret was waiting, something that could change its entire life. Entering the cabin, the interior only made the wolf feel even stranger. The wooden walls were worn, and the heavy smell of mold filled the air. But what puzzled the wolf was not the decrepit state of the cabin, but the faint light coming from a corner of the room. A strange light, like a dim lamp flickering in the darkness, drew the wolf's attention. The wolf moved closer, carefully stepping forward. It stopped in front of an old table where the light was coming from. On the table, there was a small, worn wooden box, but it was still quite sturdy. A strong feeling surged within the wolf. It knew this was the reason it had come here. This box, the one it was looking at, contained a secret that no one knew about. The wolf did not rush to open the box. Instead, it sniffed the air around it, trying to sense if anything unusual was present. That feeling grew stronger, and it could sense the presence of something. But it wasn't human, nor any other animal. It was something else, something the wolf couldn't understand. Suddenly, from outside, a noise echoed, as if someone was approaching. The wolf quickly turned its head, its sharp eyes focused on the door. It stood still, waiting, not daring to move. The footsteps were not human. They sounded more like the movements of an unfamiliar creature. The wolf didn't know who or what it was, but it was certain it wasn't the only one here. The feeling of unease washed over the wolf, making it tense. It couldn't understand what was happening, but it knew it was standing at the center of a great mystery. Something that, if left unexplored, could change everything, not just for the wolf, but for the entire world. The wolf stood still in the cabin, the light from the small wooden box still flickering, as if inviting it to come closer. Though it clearly sensed something was off, its strong curiosity made it unable to tear its eyes away from the box. The air inside the cabin grew heavier, and the wolf felt an invisible pull, as if this box contained something it needed to know. After a moment of thought, the wolf finally decided to open the box. Its sharp claws gently lifted the lid. As the lid popped open, a cold gust of air suddenly poured out from inside the box, startling the wolf. It felt an eerie, chilling breeze, as though something from the past had been released. This sensation made the wolf feel uneasy. Inside the box was an old map, neatly rolled up. The lines on the map were faded, but it was still easy to notice certain locations marked with strange symbols. The wolf felt the oddness in those symbols, but it couldn't fully understand them. It seemed this wasn't just an ordinary map, but something that held deeper meaning. As the wolf stared intently at the map, an unexpected noise came from outside the cabin door. Footsteps, quiet but deliberate, as if someone was approaching. The wolf jumped, a surge of fear rising in its chest. It knew it didn't have much time left. Things were moving too quickly, and the tension was growing. Someone was coming closer, and it could not afford to be discovered. The wolf hurriedly rolled the map back up and hid it in its mouth, then backed away, ready to leave the cabin. But before it could make its escape, a blinding light from outside shone through the broken window, causing the wolf to stop. The entire space fell silent, with only the sound of its heartbeat filling the air. The light came from a flashlight, and figures were beginning to appear through the door. The wolf couldn't believe its eyes. Outside the cabin stood a group of people, but they did not look like ordinary humans. They wore dark uniforms, and their eyes were cold, devoid of any emotion. One of them held a strange machine, emitting unusual flashes of light. The wolf could sense that these people were closely connected to the box and the map it had just found. A sudden wave of danger flooded over the wolf, but it knew it could not let this opportunity slip away. It had to uncover everything. It had to know what was going on, no matter how dangerous it might be. The wolf turned back, quietly moving toward the door, preparing for an unavoidable confrontation. The wolf stood still, eyes locked on the group outside. Their footsteps grew louder, the light from the flashlight illuminating every corner of the cabin, casting the wolf's shadow long and strange. In that tense atmosphere, the wolf felt the danger drawing nearer. These people were unlike anyone it had ever met. There was something mysterious about them, as though they had not come just to find a wolf. The wolf's heart weighed heavy as it took a step back, seeking cover in the shadows of the cabin. But it couldn't avoid the truth. These people were here for the map it was holding in its mouth. They had discovered its trail. Everything became clear. This was not just an ordinary hunt. This was a dangerous game that the wolf had accidentally stepped into. The group of people stopped in front of the cabin, silent and observant. The light from the flashlight continued to sweep through every corner of the cabin, as if searching for something hidden. The wolf could feel the tension in the air, and an unusual cold sensation began to spread through its body. This wasn't an ordinary chase. There was something bigger, a plan it couldn't fully understand yet. "We have to get out of here," one person in the group spoke, their voice deep and cold. The wolf might have brought the map in here. Upon hearing those words, the wolf instinctively swallowed. It hadn't anticipated being drawn into such a dangerous game. If the map was discovered, everything would change. A wave of unease spread through its body, making its steps heavier than ever. Suddenly, one of the group members stepped closer to the door, holding a strange device. The light from it seemed to scan around the cabin. The wolf felt like time had stopped, everything becoming blurred. Could it escape this situation? Or was it already too late to run? At that moment, the light from the device passed over the map the wolf had hidden in its mouth. Immediately, one of the group members noticed the change. They quickly moved closer, their eyes sharp as knives, not missing any trace. The wolf tried to stay calm, but it knew it could not hide the map any longer. A single option appeared in its mind: confront or flee. If it fled, the map would be discovered, and everything could become worse. But if it confronted them, Could it defeat these people? It wasn't certain. However, one thing was for sure. This battle would change its fate forever. The footsteps of the group were quickening, only a few seconds left before they would enter the cabin. The wolf didn't have time to think anymore. It decided to fight, but not with strength, but with its wits. It had to use everything it had to figure out how to escape this situation. With a quick movement, the wolf ran to the small window at the back of the cabin, where it could slip out unnoticed. The group continued to search, moving deeper into the cabin, unaware that the wolf had already left. Now the wolf had only one choice: to uncover the secret behind the map it was holding and reveal the truth the group was trying to hide. The wolf ran quickly through thick bushes, the map still in its mouth. Though it had escaped, the feeling that it was not safe lingered. The footsteps of the group still echoed in the air, as if they were very close. Every small sound, every gust of wind made the wolf more tense. It knew that if the group found it, its life would never be the same again. Seeking a safe place to hide, the wolf stopped behind a large rock, panting but trying to stay silent. It couldn't let the group discover its presence. But in the wolf's mind, the questions kept swirling. Why was the map so important? How did the group know about it? Why were they willing to risk so much just to get their hands on this map? The wolf sensed that something strange was happening. What it thought was just a simple escape had now turned into a life or death battle, where the map had become the key to everything. The secrets within the map could either be the key to unlocking something dangerously powerful, or perhaps an opportunity to change the course of its life. As the wolf continued to move, it suddenly noticed an unusual light. Under the faint moonlight, the light reflected off a large rock. The wolf approached, curious. As it got closer, it realized that this wasn't just an ordinary stone. It was an old metal box, hidden beneath a thick layer of snow. The metal box seemed to have been there for a long time, but it still retained its shape and was not damaged. The wolf's heart raced. It knew this box might be connected to the map, or perhaps the next part of the story it was trying to uncover. Without hesitation, the wolf used its jaws to gently pry open the box. Inside, there was an old notebook, its pages yellowed with age. When the wolf flipped the notebook open, it discovered a series of drawings, strange symbols, and handwritten notes that it could not fully comprehend. As the wolf began reading the notes, a sense of fear began to rise in its chest. The words before it weren't ordinary notes. Words like top secret directive, plans of acquisition, and destroy the evidence sent chills down the wolf's spine. It realized it had inadvertently gotten caught up in a war not just with those seeking the map, but with a much larger force, possibly linked to the government or secret organizations. The wolf quickly closed the notebook and hid it in the bushes, trying to leave no trace. But something inside it couldn't settle. Everything it had uncovered, from the map to the notebook, had the potential to change everything. It could become the prime target of those who did not want the truth revealed. But if it did nothing, that truth would remain buried forever, and perhaps those dark plans would continue unnoticed. The wolf looked up at the sky, the moonlight shining on its fur. It knew it couldn't look the other way. The next decision would change everything. But would the wolf have the courage to face the truth, and what would happen next? Only time would answer that question. The wolf stood there in the forest, its heart pounding. What it had just discovered only deepened the confusion within. It couldn't understand everything in the notebook, but one thing was certain: what was happening wasn't random. Behind the map and the notebook, there was something much bigger, something that could change the world. The moonlight filtered through the gaps in the leaves, casting the wolf's shadow on the cold ground. It felt as though it was standing between two worlds. One, the peaceful life it had known, and the other, a dangerous war where every decision could mean life or death. The wolf knew that if it continued to run, these secrets would remain hidden. But if it stepped into the light, it might face enemies it could never have imagined. Suddenly, the wolf noticed an unusual movement in the forest. Light footsteps, soft but decisive, echoed from behind. It turned, trying to identify the source. Faint silhouettes appeared between the trees. The military group it had encountered earlier was approaching again, but this time it seemed they were after more than just the map. They had another purpose. The wolf quickly slipped into the shadows, trying not to be seen. It knew these were no ordinary people. They weren't just looking for the map. It seemed they were searching for something much bigger, something that, if revealed, could change everything. The truth behind Project 17 could be tied to a large plan that these people did not want anyone to discover. The wolf's heart raced. It felt it could no longer just run. The sense that it was part of something much larger than itself could no longer be ignored. It needed to act, but what to do? Revealing the truth could bring unpredictable consequences, but if it stayed silent, what it knew could be buried forever. The silence of the forest now felt like a warning. The wolf looked back at the metal box it had found earlier. A part of it wanted to give up, to let everything fade into oblivion. But another part urged it to continue searching, to uncover the truth, even if it meant risking its life. A cold wind blew through, and the wolf felt the change in the air. It decided that it could no longer avoid it. This was the moment of decision. The wolf pulled the map and the notebook out from their hiding place, determination rising within. It would not back down. Though the military group was close, the wolf decided it had to do something to stop this danger. It had enough information to act, and it knew that even the smallest action could change everything. In an instant, the wolf dashed out from its hiding place, running towards the approaching military group. It had made its decision. Now was the time to face the truth. The wolf sprinted through the dark forest, each step pushing it closer to an important decision, one it could not undo. Its heart raced, and the tension and fatigue built with every passing second. The military figures were still tracking close behind, but now the wolf no longer wanted to hide. It wanted to confront the truth, even if it meant sacrificing everything. When the wolf neared the spot where the military group was standing, it quickly stopped, hiding behind large rocks. It could clearly hear the footsteps, the whispers of the soldiers. They were discussing something, and it seemed they were unaware that the wolf was watching them. Project 17 must be terminated, a deep voice said. Everything must be wiped clean. No one can know about it. The wolf heard these words and felt a deep sense of dread in its chest. What it had uncovered was not just an ordinary secret. This was a large plan, a project that the government or those behind it did not want anyone to know. Everything was no longer a game. If the wolf didn't act now, the truth would be buried forever. The wolf took a deep breath, preparing to face the danger. It began to move forward, each step light, trying not to make a sound. However, a twig snapped under its paw, producing a small noise. Immediately, all the soldiers turned around. "It's it!" one of them shouted. "Catch it!" The wolf no longer had time to think. It dashed forward, trying to escape, but never forgetting the map and the notebook it held in its paws. What it carried wasn't just ordinary information. It was the key to unlocking a great secret that, if revealed, would change the world. The military group quickly pursued, but the wolf was more agile and resilient. It ran through thick forests, crossed cold streams, its eyes always focused on the target ahead. Everything had become a life or death race. The wolf couldn't stop. It couldn't let them catch it. It had to run to a safe place to reveal the truth. Finally, after a long chase, the wolf stopped at a high area where it could observe the entire forest. It turned back and saw the soldiers still chasing it, but the distance between them was growing. The wolf knew that now it could do something important. It couldn't let them continue to control the truth. It looked at the map once again, feeling the great power of the information it held. At last, the wolf made the decision it had been contemplating throughout the journey. It would expose everything. It left the map and the notebook in a place it believed no one would find, leaving only a small trace to guide those willing to continue the journey. That was the only way to ensure the truth would be known, that Project 17 could no longer threaten everyone. As the wolf left, the moonlight shone down, illuminating the path it had just decided to take. It was the path of sacrifice, of choosing between life and death, but it was also the path the wolf knew it could only continue if it wanted to change the world. And so, the story of the wolf came to an end, but what it left behind would forever haunt those who dared to face the truth. Thank you all for watching until the end. If you enjoyed the video, do not forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss out on the best stories. See you in the next one.